Good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you're listening from today. This is Jason Greenman, and welcome back to Breakouts, the show where top event professionals come to share their expertise and their stories. Today, I'm very excited to speak with Mike Duseberg, an incredibly talented magician who for years has been providing engaging entertainment for events all around the United States. Like everyone, he's had to reinvent himself, and Mike has done a top job of this by evolving his business to a very solid virtual format. When I heard about this mind reader magician in Florida doing virtual shows, I just had to chat to him. But the biggest surprise from the conversation is how universal his advice is. Anyone that's planning an event should listen to this. Your job is to maintain a guest's attention, and Mike provides very good ideas on how to keep folks engaged. Mike is a serious and remarkably insightful professional, but is also simply a joy to listen to. So without further ado, here's part one of my conversation with Mike Duseberg. Hey there, Mike. I'm pumped we finally managed to make this work. Thanks for joining.
It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Two Floridians on either side of the Atlantic, right? You're based in Florida?
Based in Palm Beach, Florida, and you're in Barcelona, Spain?
That's right. Yeah. Long way from home.
That's a totally different world and a world I envy. That's beautiful.
It's nice. You have to get out here sometime, huh? So you are a magician by trade. How long have you been doing this for?
Believe it or not, it's coming up on 25, 27 years.
Wow.
Depending on where you want to start it at.
Okay.
I started off like everybody, like a little kid, and it took.
Okay. And you've been doing it professionally in the events world for about how long?
About 20 years now.
Okay.
I started off, when I came to Florida, I was actually the magician at the Boca Raton Resort and Club. And we had a magic-themed bar inside there. Nice. And that place was fantastic. We had some really fantastic magicians. Our boss was a world-famous magician. And that just put us right in the middle of the corporate world kind of by nature. And from then, it just sort of took off. And I left there in about 2005 when the bar closed. And since then, I've been doing corporate hospitality events, trade shows, and a lot of client appreciation work, things like that.
Amazing. And I mean, you've really said yourself this before when we've chatted before, is it you're a magician, but you're really in the business of entertainment, engagement for live events. Can you kind of explain what that is for you, what it means to be a magician and how you get the engagement from people?
Yeah, well, I think that probably the biggest problem all of us have, whether you're virtual or you're in real life, is to keep people focused and keep their attention on what's going on. And you know, if we're in any kind of environment, our job is to get their attention, and that's really what entertainment is. I don't think that entertainment is necessarily doing tricks or telling jokes or dancing or whatever that form is. Entertainment really is the ability to capture, direct, and control people's attention and focus it. So if we're at a trade show, I've got a trade show booth and I'm standing in front of that booth and I've got a crowd of 100 or 150 people that are focused on that booth. I've got their attention and I'm entertaining them and they're having fun, they're laughing, so I get their guard down a little bit. And then we can communicate, a very simple sales story to them about why they should learn more about this product, why they should learn more about this company, and more importantly, why they should come in the booth, scan their badge, say, send me more information. And start that sale going. Or, if we're in a corporate hospitality setting, we have to entertain people in a way that keeps them busy. Like if you're at the Masters at night, you don't want people going around town or going out in the world. You want them with their host so that you can build that relationship and develop that relationship. So my job as an entertainer is to provide a show, but also to be a conversationalist that helps connect people with each other and talk to each other. Same thing at a corporate hospitality suite. My job is to get them having a good time. They're inside that suite, and I make it so that they don't want to leave. That this is where I want to be, this is what's going on. Because sometimes, the next hotel room over is your competitor having the same event, offering free whiskey and food. And now, oh no, we don't want to go in there. We want to go in here and hang out with the magician because he's a lot more fun and we're laughing. And of course, then that gets the sales guys and marketing guys to walk around and get to know the people they need to and build that relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's 100% the way that engagement and entertainment works. It's very memorable. It's the people who are in these things. There's so much input. There's so much information, and you can act as a very unique point within that event that attracts people.
It's an instant point of connection too, where
Yeah.
I've got 20 people that are around the table and they're laughing, and he's there with his host or other people. And magic is a shared experience because you're all fooled, you've all seen what happened, and it doesn't matter if the guy standing next to you is the CEO and the guy on the other side is the janitor. They're all equal in terms of that moment, and so they can
Right.
start a conversation that way, they can build a relationship that way. And 72 hours later, you pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Bob, I'm from Company X. Remember we were watching that magician the other night." You're
Right.
right back there and right back into it.
I think when we first met, we were chatting on LinkedIn, and the obviously moving everything from the live events world to more of a virtual events world. And obviously you as an entertainer, as a magician, that's been a significant transition. You're used to being in the room with the clients, having the immediate feedback, that sort of thing. Can you maybe speak about what the pandemic has done to your event calendar in the United States?
Well, we took about $86,000 in revenue right off the top.
Yeah.
Between March 15th and March 19th. And
Yeah.
then over the course of the year, I think we've lost about 120,000,
Wow.
which is unpleasant.
No kidding.
But then now is this new opportunity with virtual. And so we're
Yeah.
kind of trying to figure out what are we going to bring to an event that we wouldn't normally have brought before, or what does
Yeah.
an event need now?
Yeah.
So that's really what the transition's about. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I mean, thank you for being so transparent with the numbers and things. I think it's something that a lot of people don't like to discuss. And so sometimes it kind of feels like you're all alone in this world, but everybody that I've spoken to privately have said, 80, 90, 95% of their business is just kind of dried up. And it's a hard pill to swallow. We're in absolutely the same boat. And but like you said, this opportunity, maybe it's hard to pick it up. It's hard to make that change. But when did you realize that you were going to have to do something significant to kind of save the service or reinvent a service?
I think that sort of came along, that it was like, okay, this is something we're going to do. Because for
Mm.
me at first, it was sort of like, all right, well, somebody said that you probably ought to develop some kind of a virtual component. A lot of my magician friends had been saying, you need to have video, you need to have more video. So I thought, well, I could set up a studio in the house and we could shoot some tricks and I could do some things that way. So I bought the cameras and I built the setup and we started doing some demos for our friends. And the first thing I realized is that, man, if you're working from home and you're not in the events industry, but you're in the corporate world, if you're single, like, that's your world. You wake up, you go to work, which is the living room, and then
Yeah.
that's your whole world. And so it was really cool that we started doing these demo shows for our friends and saying, hey, just come on out and have some fun. Most of you haven't seen the act, you haven't seen the stuff I'm working on for virtual before, so come on in and have some fun. And it was a hit. I mean, it took off. People loved it. We got great response. And so after about 2 weeks of that, I said, all right, well, this is a product that's going to work. This is something we can sell, and it's going to perform, on the same level as what I would do if I was in real life. The experience, I think the big thing with virtual is that it's not the same experience. Like you were saying, I can't say pick a card because you can't touch them.
Right.
So you have to change that element, but I don't think you can get rid of the togetherness aspect, that feeling of making people feel together. And I think that's what we really spent, maybe because we were just sort of playing it first, we managed to capture that. But to really focus on that experience for people there. And then I thought, okay, well, now it's going to work. And so we started calling our clients and saying, here's something we can offer if you feel like, this is something you need.
How have you managed to incorporate that thing? Because I think about what you said is a very powerful statement. Part of magic and entertainment is sharing that experience with other people that are in the room, right? Like, I don't know, the card in your hand is a queen, and then you snap your fingers and it's suddenly become an ace, right? And I mean, that moment that you share where you look around the room, you see everybody else's faces, everybody's stunned. It's really kind of like a community experience, right? How have you managed to make that, I mean, like you said, it's probably different, but to get as close as possible to that sort of community response?
Well, it's a lot of talking about the people and talking to the
Hmm.
people that are in the show.
Okay.
One of the things that I think that makes the virtual space work really great is that I've got 25, 50, 100 people that are watching the show, and I can just reach out to anyone at any point and say, let's talk to you, and turn your
Right.
microphone on and talk to us.
Okay.
And then when we're doing that back and forth, the kind of magic I've always done, I'm not a big fan of people who just say, pick a card, put it back in the deck. There's the one you picked.
Right.
That's fine for what it is, but there has to be more drama and conflict, and it has to be an experience, and there's like a wave that a good show goes through, right?
Okay.
And so we're creating what I call the circle of fun. One of my favorite magicians is a guy named Don Allen, and they wrote a book on him, and they said that when he performed, he only had 6 people that were in the show, and they were kind of sitting around the table, and then everybody else was sort of in tiered seating or standing up around him as he performed. And he said, those 6 people are sort of like characters in this show, and so my job is to sort of build a relationship and connect with them, and everybody in the audience sees them as sort of a representative. And I
Okay.
think that's a big thing that works really well in real life that I decided to focus on when I did close-up here on the
Okay.
video in virtual, was to say, let's create this circle of fun. And I think I think right now in the current version of the show, there's 13 people that actually talk to me on camera during the show.
Wow.
And I've added 2 more pieces that they actually do the magic at home. And so the magic is happening in their hand,
Wow.
which is fun because, then we switch everybody over to gallery view and they see everybody else freak out while they freak out. And, from our earlier shows when we didn't have a lot of people, we'd leave the mics open so you could hear everybody react. And
Okay.
that was really cool. And I think if you're in what I would consider more of a luxury, very small group of people kind of event, that
Hmm.
that really pops it a little bit too. But I
Okay.
think the big thing is letting other people know that there's somebody else on the other side of the camera,
Yeah.
and that you know them and you can see them. I
Yeah.
think they have to feel that. Yeah.
And I guess you're right too. With the technology that exists, it's we're fortunate that you can actually kind of pick somebody on the screen. Have you noticed a difference between how people react? Are they more willing to participate in a virtual, looking at a screen rather than perhaps in real life?
Yes, and there's ways that we set the show up that opens them up to that idea. Because my wife had this great observation, and
Hmm.
my another one of our guests mentioned it too, where she said they start the show kind of leaning back in their chair, where they're sort of sitting back, and they maybe got their finger on the space bar so they can unmute if they want to. And then as the show goes on, they start leaning closer and closer and closer to the screen. They're just
Okay.
and we're getting them more and more engaged and involved in the show as it goes on. So at the beginning, just like any performance, I don't think it would be a good idea to start your show with an audience participation experience, because that would be very
Right.
off-putting.
Sure.
But then I can start bringing them in, and basically, I mean, it's kind of like the rules, I think, for any Zoom call. If your camera's on, that I might be able to call on you. That, I think, is another thing that's really important, that people have to understand that in any form of entertainment, again, that at any moment they could affect the show.
Hmm.
Not so much that they would participate, but they could do something that would affect what's actually happening. Otherwise, they're just watching television, and that lets them tune out.
Right.
But
True.
there's always that sort of constant feeling that, Mike just might say that, I'm the one that's next. And some
Hmm.
people, that's kind of I don't want to be next, but I'll do it. And
Right.
other people, it's more of a pick me, pick me.
Right.
But either way, it's engagement that means that their eyes aren't going to leave the screen, and
Yeah.
that's really controlling attention. So now we can do all the other fun things too.
It's a really good observation. It's something that I've been struggling with a little bit, maybe philosophically, with the difference between a streamed live virtual event versus the content that's online. Because really, you're kind of competing against existing content online, right? When you're doing a
Yep.
virtual event. And I think what you've said about how a really key difference is that you could become involved at any point is a great observation. Something that when people are designing these events, they should try to keep that in mind. keep people on their toes and make sure that they're involving the audience. Because really that's what separates a live virtual event from just going to YouTube and looking up the trick online or the content online or whatever they're learning about.
Yeah, do you think it feels different when you're watching it pre-recorded versus live?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
I agree. And I think that when we do stuff that's going to be pre-recorded, I'm sort of like, let's really make sure that it's an interactive spot. And we like right now, we've got 2 cameras on the screen now. Because I think that now I'm watching something happen rather than I'm just watching something talk. I think that, you know, and that word immediacy keeps popping up, I think. This is happening right now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. This is happening right now. And at any point, Mike could pull me into his magic show. I need to be on my toes. And so with the transition, I mean, there's a lot of levels and changes that go into transitioning all this stuff to virtual. What was kind of one of the hardest things for you when you were looking at this transition?
I think for me, the hardest thing was figuring out all the technology. Because I know that we're not there yet. We just got the lav mic, which plugs into the mini mic that's on my back right now. But then, okay, so I've got the pickups, and the pickups go into the machine. But now I have to figure out, what do I do with that signal now that it goes into a machine? And there's you know, different kinds of software. And okay, I've got Ecamm, but I need to load 9 or 10 other things in there. And I've got Zoom, but I need to get Zoom into Ecamm. And I've probably spent more time on YouTube in April, probably than in my whole life, trying to figure out like why is it that when I hit this, you know, the screen explodes with sound, and when I hit this, it doesn't. And then the second thing, I think a lot of people have said that they have trouble adjusting to not getting applause. And I've met a lot of performers that said they had trouble with that, and I think at least maybe I got lucky because I heard other people say, you know, I do the trick and nobody claps because, like, if you're sitting alone by yourself and I do a trick, you don't go, oh, I mean, you do. I mean, I get them to do it, you know.
Right.
But that's not going to happen in the first 3 minutes, you know.
It's not your natural instinct,
really something hard. Come to think of it, it does happen in the first 3 minutes. Anyway. But for the most part, unless I do something really spectacular, it's not going to move you the same way. So there was sort of an adjustment, and then things that I would call like sort of like entertainers' tricks that you have in your back pocket to pull people out and get them involved and let them feel comfortable being involved too. I think one of the things that we learned as I started the show, and I said, keep your camera on, and no, you know. And, you know, we get somebody out there, okay, and I say, all right, and then I'd call out to somebody that had their camera on, and I'd do a good trick for them, and they'd react, and then all of a sudden, like 15 other cameras would pop on.
Oh, really?
So they all kind of went, okay, I see how this is going to work. I want to play. And they'd turn that camera on and go, okay, I get it. Less so now because I think people are starting to get comfortable with what's happening. But getting them out of that mindset, and this could be for any event, getting them out of the mindset of being a viewer and being more of a participant, is really, you know, and coaching them, you know, actually saying, this is the rules, this is how it works.
Right. Yeah. Set the ground rules early. Explain how it's okay to react, the kind of responses that you want, the way to kind of explaining how are you going to get the most out of this thing, right, from the beginning.
I've often thought, like, what if we just well, that's actually what we did, is we laid down, here's what to do. And in the first minute or two when I come on screen, I kind of walk them through, here's how to use the software we're using, and here's how to unmute yourself, and here's what's going to happen. And we do it in a fun and kind of entertaining way, and then we're on to the show. But I think it's not just new for the performers and the presenters and the people who are putting on the conference, it's also new for the audience.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. It's a new world for everybody. And it's funny what you said about the technology as well. I think the very first thing I asked you when we connected was, hey Mike, is that a lavalier like? How are you hearing me? Like, kind of went through all the technology, because it's true. It's such a big world, the world of live streaming. It's the lighting, the camera, the mic, the way it's all connected, the streaming services that there are. It takes, I think you can see people who've put the work in to have a nice live stream, and people who have simply turned on their camera on their laptop, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's, I guess I haven't seen a lot of people that have a home studio set up. Well, you do.
Yeah.
I like, you got like a rear shot. I like the camera setup. That looks really cool. It seems like this kind of fun way to express yourself too. I mean,
Totally.
if you were to look around this background that I've got here, there's things about me, there's things that call out to people that are my clients, and that would make them go, oh, I know what that is. And there's one or two things that are going to call out to just a certain specific person.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes this fun. Now it's another element of your personality and your character. But also, I've got two diffused lights on the other side of the room that are now in my office permanently. Did you ever think,
No. You probably never thought that you would have essentially a video studio in your house, did you?
Literally, well, yeah, and I'm so lucky too, because my wife is a theater person and she did set
Okay.
design. So
amazing. Okay.
I went into this going like, okay, well, I guess we'll put some stuff on the wall, or I don't know. And she came in here and was like, get out of the way.
Yeah, sweet, perfect. Everybody needs to do what their specialty is, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening today. Please stay tuned for part 2, which we'll be putting up shortly. If you're interested in speaking to Mike directly, check out the show notes over on micehq.com for all the ways you can get in touch with me. This has been Breakouts with me, Jason Greenman, and if you've enjoyed this as always, please make sure to subscribe, hit follow, and if you have a minute, please leave a 5-star rating. Take care, and we'll see you soon.